Alright, well, I'm back now to do a brand new review, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1992 sequel, Pet Semetary 2. A sequel to the 1989 Pet Semetary. And, of course, the 1989 Pet Semetary was a very decent success, and Paramount then wanted a sequel. And Mary Lambert, who had directed the first movie, came back. And her original concept was to bring Ellie, who was a survivor from the previous film, to bring her back. But even though I've actually never even seen the first Pet Semetary, but eventually Paramount basically they wanted to do something new and go in a new direction and not kind of make it a direct sequel to that movie, which it's not. This movie is not. So eventually, they then cast Edward Furlong as the main protagonist of the film, and basically he had just came off of Terminator 2, and so he had a pretty huge following at the time. He was a very big up and coming actor, but the main premise of this movie is you've got Edward Furlong's character in the film. He's on this movie set with his mother. And it's revealed that his mother and father are kind of having marital problems. So she's out filming this movie, then there's an accident, and she is killed. She's electrocuted to death after some water gets on this sound equipment stuff, and she touches this bar, and it kills her. And eventually this takes everything back to the town of Ludlow from the previous movie, and eventually, his mother's buried there in a cemetery, not Pet Semetary, but she's buried in a cemetery there. So he and his father, they then reopen the veterinarian shop there, which I'm assuming is from the first one. Like I said, I've never seen the first movie, but they open the shop up, and eventually we are introduced to Clancy Brown's character, and he has this family, a wife and a stepson. Eventually, the stepson has this dog, and the dog is basically killed by Clancy Brown after the dog tries to get Clancy Brown's rabbits out of a cage. And eventually, the boy and Edward Furlong's character take the dog to Pet Semetary, and bury him there, and the dog comes back to life. And after the stepson and Clancy Brown's character have an altercation, Clancy Brown is then killed, and they then bury Clancy Brown's character in the cemetery, and he comes back, and then he goes out to this, there's a town bully that's antagonizing Edward Furlong's character and Clancy Brown's stepson in the movie, and eventually Clancy Brown kills the bully in a very sadistic scene in which basically there's the bully has this motorbike, and Clancy Brown picks it up and starts revving up the wheels on it, and basically starts putting it in the bully's face, and it catches the bully's scarf and basically takes the side of his face off and kills him. So eventually, Clancy Brown, after his stepson witnesses him killing the bully, he then goes after his stepson, and then the stepson and his mother then get into the car and speed off with Clancy Brown behind them, and eventually Clancy Brown catches up to them and kills them by ramming the car that they're in, and the car then goes right into this big truck full of potatoes. And one of my favorite shots is where he drives off and the tire crushes this potato. And I like stuff like that in movies. But eventually Clancy Brown takes the bully and buries him in Pet Semetary. And then eventually Edward Furlong's character gets the idea, which it's kind of revealed throughout, that he's kind of wanting to get his mother and try to bring her back to life. And eventually, that's exactly what happens. Clancy Brown digs up Edward Furlong's mother in the film and takes her to Pet Semetary, buries her, and she is then resurrected. And all at the same time, Edward Furlong's father finds out about all this and then goes after Clancy Brown's character, Gus, and I don't know why I not already said his character's name, but Clancy Brown's character is Gus, and eventually his father and Clancy Brown have a altercation, and eventually Edward Furlong's father kills Clancy Brown's character, Gus. And then Edward Furlong's character, Jeff, has made this this huge shrine up in the attic of the house with all his mother's stuff after refusing to throw any of it out earlier in the movie. And also they've basically got kind of this housekeeper or whatever there as well, and it's kind of suggested that Edward Furlong's character's father, him and the housekeeper is kind of in a relationship, sorta. But eventually, he gets back to his father gets back to the house and finds his wife up in the attic, and basically the bully is then resurrected and goes after Edward Furlong's character, and Edward Furlong eventually kills the bully by shoving an electrical cable into the bully's mouth, blowing his head off. And it's there's very cool effects in this movie, I will say that. But getting back to the movie, I'm almost done here. And I don't know why I've not said the characters' names. Well, I do, because they've all of a sudden come back to me now. But eventually, at the end of it, the house catches on fire, and Edward Furlong and his father get out of the house. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the movie. They basically close up the veterinarian shop, and they get out of town. The doctor who formerly run the veterinarian shop, he's featured in this movie. I'm not sure if it's the original actor from the previous movie or not, but he is in it. Basically, he has gone completely insane after the events of the previous movie. But, yeah, like I was saying, I like the special effects. I think they were very good. I like this movie. I've always really kind of liked this movie. It's a very interesting movie. Very overlooked film as well. I don't think a lot of people know there's even a sequel to Pet Semetary. I've saw this movie on TV several times before. Of course, I bought the DVD yesterday at Walmart for like $5, and I just revisited and rewatched the film, and I still enjoy it. I give it probably a 7 out of 10. I mean, for what it is, it's a pretty good sequel, and I've rambled on probably a bit by now, but also Stephen King did not want anything to do with the sequel. He basically had his name taken off of it, and there wouldn't be another Pet Semetary film until the 2019 remake, which I've not seen either. And I'm trying to think of some more stuff I can cover with this movie. Other than really the reception for it was not very good. I don't know the box office or anything on it, but I do know the reception wasn't quite as good as the first one. And if my memory serves me right, when I watched it before, I think I remember seeing a Jason Takes Manhattan poster in the film, which was very cool. But I can't think of anything else I can talk about in this movie. If I do think of anything else before I edit this whole thing together, I will go back in and add whatever. But really, got some more reviews coming. I don't know when this one will be up, in the coming weeks probably, or in the coming days. Hope you enjoyed this review. Pet Semetary, I guess I could say it's a very underrated film. Like I said, I don't think it's a great film by any means. It is a tad bit slow, but I mean, they could have took a little bit out here and there and basically kind of sped things up a little bit. Like I said, it is a tad bit slow, but still I enjoy it for what it is. Very, like I said, overlooked, kind of lost in the shuffle, and it was kind of there and then gone, and nobody really ever talks about it very much. And I mean, it's got 90s horror written all over it. I mean, it's a very early 90s film, and very early 90s horror film, and yeah. Ramones also had another song in this movie as well, and yeah, there's a work print that exists of this movie as well. I've never seen it, but I've read about it. Basically, it's a few extended scenes of, I believe, just special effects and stuff like that, gore, and special effects, I believe, had some involvement from Bart Nixon. He is in the credits. He's involved. I'm trying to think of some other stuff I may can talk about. I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. I enjoy this film. I think it's very overlooked. Once again, I've said it several times. Very overlooked film. And if I think about anything else I'm going to talk about, like I said, when I edit this video together, I'll add it back in. I'll add it in at the end of this review. But I like the a lot of the music in the movie as well. So there you go. But I mean, Clancy Brown was the one that kind of really came out of this movie, because he's the one. If people even talk about Pet Semetary 2, he's the one that comes up, because I mean, he steals the show. His role is just so over the top in the film. I mean, of course, Clancy Brown does a great job. Everything I've ever seen him in, he's done a really good job. He was in the Elm Street remake, which I actually enjoyed the Elm Street remake more than a lot of other people do yet. It's kind of very cut and dried, but I do kind of enjoy it. I believe he was also in Starship Troopers, if I'm not being wrong, and I love Starship Troopers, but Starship Troopers is a great film. But yeah, this was the final Pet Semetary movie up until the 2019 remake. Reception was not very good on it, as I've done talked about. But I think that's it, pretty much. Like I said, if I think about something else, I'll tag it to the end of the review. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I'll be back with something soon. And see you next time.